Happy Friday. First full week of work. Every week so far, we're on week 3, has been a short week. First week, I started on a Wednesday. Next week was 4th of July. So this is my first week really taking 5 full days to work. And I am tired. It is Friday. I am tired. I'm like, whoa, it's been a while. Today, I have a ton of meetings. Not as much as I did Wednesday. I think Wednesday was my meeting heavy day, but we have meetings. We have some focus time. I just got my first project that I'll be working on, so I started taking a stab at that just to try to put into action all the things that I've been learning for the past 2 weeks. And then tonight we have book club. I had to return my book back to the public library because it's one of those in-demand books that you have a 14-day window to read it and return it. And so it's been returned to the library. I'm gonna come to book club empty book-handed, but there it goes. There it goes.
Someone doing Morse code.
But I am bringing a chickpea, cucumber, pepper salad. We were supposed to have this originally in like an outdoor setting. We were going to go to the park, but it was rescheduled because of potential rain. So looking forward to book club and to figuring out what book we read next. Because I've been in a good, actually after that last book, which I read instantly, it's been hard to finish this one, though I am on page 124. I started Big Swiss before I got my last book. So I want to say I got it 3 weeks ago. It's been a slow read. I think it finally at chapter 6, it is now starting, or at least it's moving faster, because it's been for me, when I'm enjoying a book, I read through it. Clearly, I'm not enjoying it as much as I thought I would.
Hi there, and welcome to my channel. My name is Danielle. I'm a first-gen Latina trying to reach financial independence while also just enjoying life and traveling and doing all the things that I love to do. I am not so sure how I am gonna reach it, but I hope that you subscribe so you can follow along on this financial independence journey with me.
We eat leftovers in this house. Last night's dinner, tofu meatballs. It is a go-to now recipe in this household. And we made some brown rice yesterday. I wanted to make this day in the life, celebrating my first full week of work, to chat about what was different this time around in my job search. In order to share a little bit about what's different, I wanted to first talk about how I got here. And so my last job, the one where I ultimately was laid off from in August of 2023, I actually got in early 2022. And the market was a different time back then. I'm gonna take a bite because I'm hungry and I have a meeting in 10 minutes. I don't know if you remember anything about 2021, early 2022, but I, like 47 million other folks, decided to quit my job in 2021. I decided I needed a sabbatical. I needed some time off to see what would be next for me. So at the end of 2021, I became one of the statistics of people who quit my job that year. And I took on a sabbatical. Short sabbatical, where I was also technically not a sabbatical since I worked part-time as a consultant for a nonprofit. So technically it wasn't a sabbatical because I was working. But when I was ready to start my job search for my next full-time job in 2022, it took me 2 months of job searching to receive 2 offers compared to my situation in 2024. But in these 2 months when I was job searching, I didn't calculate how many interviews I had. I wasn't really doing that kind of tracking that I was this time around, but I ended up with 2 offers, which made me feel like there was an opportunity for me to negotiate. So I negotiated a 13% increase in my starting salary and ultimately landed my first 6-figure job offer at the company where I would eventually be laid off from. So it was a different time. It was a different time in 2022. And I recently saw this LinkedIn post from the CEO of Exit 5. I'm going to share that LinkedIn post here, who's comparing hiring in 2021 versus hiring in 2024, and basically saying how in the first example, when hiring a director of product marketing, 2 candidates that he had given offers to and had accepted ended up not actually starting because they had other competing better offers. Whereas fast forward to 2024, he put up an operations assistant role for half of the salary of this role and had many applicants who he deems overqualified. And if we ignore the overqualified sentiment, what it tells us is clearly it's a different job market in 2024 versus the one that we were having in 2021 or 2022, early 2022, when I got hired and got my first 6-figure offer that I negotiated for. Fast forwarding to 2023, it was a year that many call the extinction level year for a lot of early stage startups. There was a lot of, and still is, economic uncertainty, but also interest rates were high. There was a shortage of money to be funding these early stage startups. And those larger startups who were looking for an exit strategy, it wasn't like the best time for them to be thinking about that. Plus, you add on that Silicon Valley Bank basically collapsed, and that threw off the whole startup tech ecosystem. We started seeing how things were not looking so rosy for the tech industry, for startups, for people working within these industries. Companies were tightening up their belts, right? They were really not hiring at the rate that they had been hiring the last 2 years. And this is where I caught myself. At this point, I was working at a recruiting tech company during an uncertain market when people aren't hiring as much and cutting down expenses. Wasn't really a good place to be in 2023. So, of course, like many of the customers that we had, our company decided to do layoffs, which ultimately impacted my role.
I'm tired of always see the better in people.
Okay, it is 5:20 and I'm going to shut down now. So I wanted to share with you some thoughts of what I saw that was different this time in my job search. Like I was saying earlier, 2022 wasn't as hard for me to land a job. And this time around, it took me 11 months. I applied to over 325 jobs. I had probably more than 86 interviews across 43 different companies. And I got rejected 6 times at final stage. So you get to the final point and you either get an offer or you don't. 6 times. So I made it to the final round at 6 companies. And so definitely was, for me, what felt like a more difficult and more challenging job market. But some things that I noticed, some themes, I guess, that I noticed that were different this time around was, number one, using AI in the job search. Back when I was applying to jobs in 2022, AI was not in the conversation when it came to your job search. I mean, ChatGPT didn't launch until November 2022. And so we weren't thinking about AI the way that we see it being talked about now in the job search. I instead used a real human, a real coach, career coach, who specialized in product marketing to help me better position myself, work on my interview responses to ultimately land my job. Instead of, using ChatGPT to find the jobs for me, I myself went on to look for them. And the closest thing to AI that I was using in 2022 was this word clouds website where I would copy and paste the job description and put that in there so that it could generate just a cloud of words, the top words that were coming out of the job description, so I could use that for building my resume. But how I did end up using AI in 2024 and this time around in this job search was just coming up with interview questions that I might get asked. So I reached out to one of my old colleagues and I was like, what are some tips you have? Because you landed your job right away. And she, shared a few tips. And one of them was use AI to help you come up with questions that you might not have thought of. And so I would put the job description and be like, based on this job description, what questions could I be expected to ask? And that's how I used AI in this job search. But of course, there are many different ways that people are using AI. The job tracker that I used, Teal, is also known for their resume AI feature. I used it once to kind of, not to build my resume, but to make sure that my resume highlighted the really big things that they were looking for in their job description. That was the plus feature, so you had to pay extra to use it, and I stopped after 1 month of paying for it because I was I only need it once. Most product marketing roles are gonna be looking for the same things, and so for me, it didn't feel like I needed to use AI for every job application, but maybe seeing now that it took me 11 months, I probably could have benefited from more usage of that. Another thing that I noticed that I was really frustrated with was referrals really don't mean anything anymore, or at least it felt that way. Back when I got my job in 2022, I had a referral link from a stranger, from a Slack community that I was a part of for product marketers. This stranger ultimately became my colleague, my peer in the product marketing team. But because of that referral, I got an entry fast-paced into the interviewing process. Now, the referral does not necessarily mean that you get the job. It just gets you that first interview with the recruiter. But in 2024, I went the extra steps to ask people if I could get a referral, if, they could share a link. And most of the time, those just led to nothing. So referrals, not as strong as they used to be. I didn't think that they were making a difference in my job search. In fact, I felt like more times than not, recruiters were gonna be seeking you out based on your LinkedIn profile, right? So once I updated my LinkedIn profile, and I have a whole video of what I changed and how I changed things about my LinkedIn profile, I felt like I was getting reached out more for opportunities than, what I would get from applying with a referral or applying without any referral. So referrals, not as strong anymore. Another big one that I really frustrated me, and I think why I got so burnt out sometimes throughout the process, was I felt like the interview steps and the interview process took much longer this time around. I feel like one of the companies that I had interviews with, I had a total of 7 rounds, met people, presented, had panels, spent hours doing presentations and preparing the content that I was going to present. So I feel like employers are expecting more from these applicants because there's so much competition out there that they're yeah, we're gonna make you work for it. We're gonna make you spend no more than 4 hours doing this assignment, and then we're gonna have you present to a panel of 4 of your peers so that you could explain your thought process, and we can ask you questions, and we can see how you think, how you would. It's not going to take me just 4 hours. It's going to take me a minimum of 4 hours and probably 8 to 12 hours to do this. And so more steps in the process, but also they were just expecting more. And I think what hurt the most with all those 6 final stage rejections that I got that anybody you would get. Like, final stage rejections, I think, hurt the most, especially this time around, is because you put so much work to get to that final stage. Like, it's not just conversations you're having, you're creating a presentation, you're doing work for them. And I don't think it's like work that they will be using for anything else. Like, you don't know enough about the company to actually provide anything useful, but it's still time out of your day to create something for them and then to get a no. It hurts. I think one that did not surprise me, because already my last, like before I got laid off, my company, then my former company was also going back to this, but the hybrid working, this one wasn't so surprising. In early 2022, when I joined my former company, when I was interviewing, everything was remote. Everything was remote. This time around, a lot of hybrid roles. A lot of people were expecting you to come into the office for some number of days. I think that the expectations of employees to be in office is something that I saw a lot more for some of these roles. Another one that didn't really, wasn't really something that impacted me so much this time around, but in 2022, I was really in that transitioning into a real product marketing role, right? At the company that I left in 2021, I had done product marketing, but it was a much smaller startup, so things were different. And positioning myself as somebody who had product marketing experience but still had a lot to learn was easier than what I've heard this time around was. I volunteered for a Product Marketing Alliance Summit this year, and the other volunteers were also on the job search, and they were all transitioning into product marketing. And I heard it from them, but I also heard it from some of the speakers that transitioning into product marketing without any product marketing experience was more challenging. Even in some of the roles where I got to final stages and I didn't get the offer, a lot of the feedback was there's just somebody who had more experience than you. And because I am the way that I am, of course, I've gone back to search to see who got those jobs. And many times they have been doing product marketing for 4 years, for 5 years. And I'm coming in here with 2 years of product marketing experience, thinking that's enough for a product marketing role that isn't even a senior product marketing role. But it just felt like they were still looking for somebody with more product marketing experience every time. And so I feel like transitioning into product marketing without the product marketing experience and direct experience was something that I kept hearing people wanted to see now this time around. So that one's very specific to product marketing, but I think the transitioning story, probably a little more challenging to make a case for in 2024. And I wanted to save the best for last because I mentioned that in 2022, I was able to negotiate my starting salary at my last employer by 13%. And so negotiation in 2024, I'm not gonna lie, I have preached about negotiating and always ask for more, always ask for more. And this time around, I felt like I did not have the upper hand to be asking for more. I was like, I've been unemployed for 10 months. Like I was starting to feel a little bit like maybe this is a red flag for recruiters. And so I didn't feel comfortable doing my negotiation tactics that I had done in the past. But I still asked if they were open to having negotiations. And I got a flat no, which was fine. I wasn't gonna keep pushing it. I was happy that I had gotten an offer, but I think this job market is making people less willing to negotiate because they don't want to miss out on the offer. And so, yes, I took a pay cut to start my role. And in this new job that I have, I think that's just where we are in this market, right? 2022, I feel like maybe salaries were just a little bit inflated. So I'm okay with what I'm getting paid, but also I told myself at least just ask. At least just see if they're willing to entertain that conversation. And they were also more, in many of these interviews that I took, they were so upfront about the salary from the beginning. First call with the recruiter, this is the salary, this is the max, like, is that okay? This time around in 2024, I could tell they were just not about to tell you, at the last stage, they were not going to waste their time. They wanted to see if you fit within their budget, which makes sense. Makes sense. So those are just a few things that I thought were different this time around. If there were things in your job search that you found were like very different to the last time you got a job, let us know in the comments. I don't know. It can't just be me feeling like this was a totally different experience. But okay, I'm gonna go make this salad and get ready to go to book club.
You got me singing like, I love it when you do it like that, when you walk out with nothing but, I love it when you do it like that, you know that I'm right there, want you, you make it look so easy like that, then you try out my attention like, just thinking of you.
That's it! I have my little bolon apron from my grandmother. She went to Ecuador and she's the type of person that needs to buy a souvenir even in her own country. So she brought an apron for me, but I love a bolon de verde, and if you haven't had one, it's an Ecuadorian dish. Maybe I'll do a tutorial on how I make them with my mom. I don't know, I think we tried that and it didn't go well, but maybe this time we'll prepare. But okay, salad done. Gonna put it in the fridge before I leave so it stays cool.